Hello, I want to introduce a special guest with me today, Congressman Mike Pence from Indiana. Mike and I knew each other well when I was in the House. He's one of my great conservative heroes who has been called everything from a new face for the Republican Party he's said himself, which I love this quote, Mike, that you're a conservative but you're not in a bad mood about it. Mike has a great way of re-energizing Republicans and encouraging them with his optimism. And he's here in Columbia with us tonight to speak to Republicans statewide. So I wanted Mike just to talk a little bit about where he saw the Republican Party going. He's so involved with the movement in the House, and he's certainly one of our hopeful national leaders in the future.
Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you. I'm very humbled by those comments. And in Washington, D.C., we have a term of art that we refer to colleagues as good friends, whether they are or not. But anyone looking in will probably be able to tell that we really are good friends. Karen and I are thrilled to be in Columbia. We are even more thrilled with the caliber of leadership that you've brought to the United States Senate. And when you talk about the future of the Republican Party, I don't think we have to look a lot farther than the kind of conservative, principled leadership that members of the Senate like you and Senator Tom Coburn have been bringing onto the national stage in that chamber. I really do believe that there's nothing wrong with the Republican agenda. What's wrong today is that we've allowed ourselves to clutter up our agenda with lots of other issues and other priorities. In recent years, we've in many ways become what we replaced, expanding the federal Department of Education despite our efforts to oppose it, expanding entitlements despite our efforts to oppose it. And I think the key to go forward is for Republicans to do, ironically, what Democrats are doing in many districts, and that is to return to a clear commitment to conservative ideals on social and economic issues.
Well, I found the same thing you have, is not only is there no problem with the Republican agenda, but the grassroots at the Republican level still believe in our philosophy, our ideas, and they just want their leadership at the state and national level to actually stand up for those ideas. I think one of the things that's happened to us is that we've allowed maybe some old party leaders in Washington to basically derail the Republican revolution that began in '94. And a lot of these are big spenders, and we really have hurt ourselves on fiscal issues and just gotten off track, as you said. But the basic ideas of freedom and free enterprise and personal responsibility and limited government, you and I know those things really do work if we would let them work.
Well, and let me say that during your tenure in the House, and you've carried the same energy into your service in the United States Senate, you and I battled side by side trying to hold the line on big government republicanism. And I remember at the time, when, for instance, when you and I were one of just a couple of dozen Republicans saying that the party of Ronald Reagan ought not to create the first new entitlement in 40 years. We battled members of our own party to stop the prescription drug entitlement from happening. And but remember the arguments at that time? The argument for those that were advancing it was that well, it probably wasn't consistent with that limited government Reaganism, but it was going to be politically popular. And I don't know about you, but I wasn't sure how the politics would play out. I was just motivated by, I didn't go to Washington, D.C. to create new entitlements. But the great irony is that the people who cashiered principle for politics, principle for power, really cost our party both. And now we're back at a place where I think we have an opportunity to come out of the wilderness by returning to the principles of limited government, life, and liberty that minted our majorities in the past. And I'm confident, Senator, we'll mint our majorities in the near future.
I certainly hope so, because there's a lot at stake, as you know. The Democrats now want to move to basically socialized medicine and expanded regulation. They're trying to use climate change as a way to basically control American business and really cost the taxpayers a lot more money. So I'm concerned, and I'm afraid, even though George Bush is a good friend of mine, that this idea of compassionate conservatism, which turned into big government conservatism, as you said, No Child Left Behind certainly hasn't won us any votes. The prescription drug benefit is certainly not credited to the Republicans, and now we've got to figure out how to save Medicare from going broke. We've got some challenges, and I think more than ever, the ideas, the Republican ideas of people owning their own health insurance, or maybe even owning their own Social Security accounts and having a simple tax code, the things that you and I have been talking about for a long time, I believe people will listen to if, as Republicans, we just stand up and talk about it.
Senator, I really believe they will. And what's interesting is, and I'm going to speak a little bit about this in Columbia tonight, when you look at the 3 Republican defeats in special elections that just occurred on the House side, Democrats were not winning those districts running moderates or liberal Democrats. I mean, in at least 2 of the cases, Mississippi and Louisiana, they ran pro-life, pro-gun, anti-tax Democrats. And so, you know, I've said to some pundits in Washington, D.C., if liberals were winning these Republican districts, our movement would have a reason for pause. But the truth is that the Democrats seem to understand the power of our ideals more today than the Republican Party does.
Yeah. Even though we know they won't vote that way once they get into Congress, I'm afraid. Right. At least that's been their past experience. But Mike, we're looking forward to your talk tonight. You really honor all of us as South Carolina Republicans for coming to speak with us, and I look forward to working with you for many years into the future.
Jim, Senator, excuse me.
Jim, please.
Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for your principled leadership, and thank you for your kind invitation to come to South Carolina today. My wife and I are very humbled by it.
Thank you.